Wyoming Harvard alums outrage the university is keeping its anti-Semitic president. WYDOT is closing a highway to recover a truck carrying 114,000 pounds of molten sulfur. And a Wyoming ski instructor says if a bear chases you, ski faster or push over a friend. We'll look at these stories and more from Wyoming's largest news organization. I'm Andrew Rossi, in for Wendy Kaur with Cowboy State Daily. Wyoming lawmakers who attended Harvard University are outraged that their former school is retaining its controversial president. Last week, Harvard President Claudine Gay testified to Congress that the school tolerates anti-Semitism in certain situations based on its context. Cowboy State Daily's Leo Wolfson spoke to State Representative Cyrus Western, who earned a master's degree from Harvard in 2016, and had some choice words about the egregious double standard that's been set by their inaction.
That he thinks it's absolutely pathetic. The school has positioned itself around safe spaces and respectful free speech. So to have a president who refuses to acknowledge genocide of Jews as being anti-Semitic is pathetic.
18 months after a fatal car accident, prosecutors are pursuing vehicular homicide charges against 26-year-old Stephen Gale Spearman, who was accused of causing the wreck. Spearman's Toyota RAV4 was stalled on I-25 when a Yukon sideswiped it and rolled 5 times. 3 people in the Yukon were killed when they were ejected from the vehicle. Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland says the affidavit for the case is one of the longest she's ever encountered.
This lengthy affidavit compiles multiple interviews. The woman from whom he borrowed the car, the woman he was dating at the time, the one survivor in the Yukon. A lot of the interviews indicate that Spearman was running around, talking on the phone, trying to decide whether to stay or run.
Spearman faces up to 67 years in prison if convicted on the 3 counts of aggravated vehicular homicide. WYDOT is temporarily closing State Highway 28 between Farson and Lander from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Wednesday to recover a semi-trailer that went off the road and down an embankment during a blizzard last week. The trailer was carrying 55 tons of molten sulfur through South Pass when it started sliding several hundred feet downhill, jackknifed, and slid off the road down the embankment. WYDOT will need the entire expanse of Highway 28 to safely recover the semi-trailer. Any changes to the temporary closure will be posted on WYDOT's 511 app. I'll be back with more news right after this.
The weather's turning oh so frightful this time of year, but those excavation projects, they will persevere. I'm Jan Warren for One Call of Wyoming, here to remind you that no matter how big or how small your digging project is, contacting 811 2 full business days before you begin is required by state law. So stay safe unwrapping presents, not utility lines. From all of us at One Call of Wyoming, happy holidays.
Wyoming Representative Harriet Hageman will not support the National Defense Authorization Act. The biggest military spending bill of the year is making its way through Congress, but Hageman says she was not consulted by her Senate colleagues on the changes they made, and it was a bad process which resulted in bad legislation. Cowboy State Daily's Leo Wolfson said Hageman had several other reasons to oppose the National Defense Authorization Act.
She's also upset that the legislation does not prohibit funding and furthering gender transition surgeries, does not eliminate the military chief's diversity officers, does not ban drag shows at military installations, and does not counter Biden's radical green climate agenda.
As for the rest of the Wyoming delegation, Senator John Barrasso voted to advance the bill, while Senator Cynthia Lummis voted against it. And a recent video of a bear charging through skiers on the slopes of a California resort has some Wyoming outdoorsmen experienced with recreating in bear country, advising the best course of action if a bear crashes your ski outing to pile on the speed. Cowboy State Daily's Mark Hines spoke with wildlife biologists and others who said bears are usually hibernating when the snow reaches skiing depth, but a few bears might still venture out during the winter.
We just had a ski instructor from Wyoming who just kind of jokingly said, well, if that really happened here in Wyoming, probably should just ski faster. And if feel that you can't ski fast enough, maybe knock down someone else and the bear will get them first. But that's a joke. You can see bears out any month of the year. Don't take for granted that you're just not going to see a bear because it's the middle of winter, because you could.
Wyoming grizzlies are also smart enough to avoid places where people might annoy them during the winter. And that's today's news. Get your free digital subscription to Wyoming's only statewide newspaper by hitting the subscribe button on CowboyStateDaily.com. I'm Andrew Rossi, in for Wendy Kaur for Cowboy State Daily.